Welcome, guys, to another episode of the podcast where we talk about triathlon, talking triathlon. I still don't know how to intro it. I've roped in a special co-host this week, none other than friend of the podcast, the junkyard dog himself from Triathlon Mockery, Joe Skipper. Joe, how you going, mate?
Good, mate. Yeah, good to be back on the show. Well, it's a new show now, isn't it? It was Macarex before, but now talking triathlon. So, yeah, good to be back on it.
I thought there's nobody better to have a bit of a chat about triathlon than you, Joe, because I think half of what we do is talk about triathlon. So why not commit it to podcast? Now, we normally alternate weeks with a news episode and then an interview episode. And last week we skipped an episode. So I thought I'd combine the two this week. We're going to get a pro triathlete himself, Joe Skipper, on to talk about what's been happening, because so much has been happening in the sport of triathlon the last few weeks. We've obviously had the PTO Asian Cup. We had 70.3 Worlds. Plenty to discuss. We are in Nice, mate. We're here. It's a couple of weeks out. Well, it's a week and a half out from the IronMan World Championships. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, mate. I've got you to whip me into shape.
I know you're bored in the big dogs. You were obviously, just trying to put those finishing touches on your preparation. I thought, who better than the great one, Tim Ford?
Well, if you want to swim well, you need to swim with an Aussie, don't you? So, who better than to swim with the new mate?
It's I think I have to tell this story just because it did piss me off a bit the other day. But we're out doing the big climb on the course, and you were doing a test at race pace to see how quickly you could get up there. And I was like, I'll just do my own thing. I don't want to embarrass you. I don't want to make you look bad. So I thought I'll just do my own thing. And I'm plugging along up there, suffering. It's a decent climb. And I get about 1.5, 2K from the top, and you've turned around and come back, and you're like, mate, there's no need to go. Like, just turn around. There's no need to go to the top. I'm like, fuck you, Joe Skipper. I've just been climbing for an hour. I don't even get to the top
You want to get the picture next to the comms
I
sign,
did.
didn't you? With the meters and everything, didn't you?
And then we did go out yesterday with Matt Hansen. So it was you, Matt Hansen, and myself. And I think Matty had a puncture. So I thought I'll keep going. And
He had everything go wrong though, didn't he? Didn't have his bike, had to borrow my bike, punctured my tires, didn't he? Had to get another wheel. Luckily, we had on the car. It was like, if it weren't for us, he'd have been screwed, wouldn't he?
Exactly. But we anyway, I thought I'd keep going, get a bit of a head start. And I thought, I've actually got these boys covered. I might get up here before they get up here. And it was almost at the exact same spot where you made me turn around the day before. What do? I looked down, I'm like, God, they're coming. I better try to get it. And I didn't. I couldn't. And you guys pit me about 500 meters from the top. You got me, and then you dropped me. I thought, fuck, I can't even get up with a head start. But it's good. What was interesting, we'll talk a little bit about Nice, but we did the descent yesterday as well. And my God, it just goes on forever.
It does, yeah. And it's a really honest course, isn't it? Like, you got the big climb, but then once you get to the top of the climb, it's not flat, is it? It's like a little bit of downhill for about 2 minutes, and then it's just constantly up and down, up and down. And then it's not until you're about 120 kilometers into the race that you actually really get the proper descent from the climb, is it? So, yeah, it's definitely harder than what it looks like when you look at it on paper at the profile.
I think we were also looking at, like, I didn't do it. Your dad had to come and get me because, again, I was in the locker room a little bit yesterday. But there's that second little climb. It's like a 20-minute climb before you hit the big descent. And I was because that one is it's a technical climb too. There's a lot of switchbacks. It's I think a lot of people are probably going to underestimate that. And
definitely, yeah, it's a 10K climb,
yeah,
which no one really talks about, but it's not that steep, which is actually probably good for me. But is the wheels are going to come off on some people up that, because you can't blag it, can you? It's not like you can go hard for 5 minutes. It's going to be it's a good 20-minute climb, I'd say, even if you're like pushing it hard to 25 minutes. So that is really going to hurt some people and end some people's races. And I think if you've got enough in the tank when you get there, you can really make some good progress and to catch a lot of people up who have gone out way too ambitiously earlier on in the ride.
I also think what I've been quite surprised by is how poor the road surfaces are.
Oh, like, it's terrible.
It's bad. Like, and especially on that descent. I descended for what? I did 25K the descent yesterday. And again, I'm not the best descender. You literally go down like an absolute rocket. But the line that I want to take it's honestly every single spot there's something on the road is the exact line that you'd actually want to take in the race. And I'm curious to see. I also think that if there's even a slightest hint of rain or anything, because of all those metal gradients and things, like, it could be absolute carnage.
Oh, if it rains, it's definitely going to be horrific. And it's not an enjoyable descent because of that, is it? It's one that you just want to get down, but it's not one that you actually would want to do if you're out training to have fun, because it's just so sketchy.
There's nothing fun about it. Well, it was, again, before I got picked up by your dad yesterday, I think there's that sort of mid descent before that second climb. And that's one of the most spectacular things I've ever seen on a bike where, you're going down this descent, there's the tunnels you go through. It's unbelievable. I've
Oh,
never
that
seen a
bit was
course like
well
that.
nice. Yeah. What did you think about my swimming when you swam when we did the swim the other day in the 50-meter
Well,
pool?
I think at one point when you kept tapping my feet, I said, you have to buy me a drink first because I get quite stressed when you're on my feet. But mate, again, like, you were putting some really good numbers down. Like we did a set of, it was what, two times, three times 500, three, 100s.
This was the Tim Ford special. This was the set what you come up with that
Yeah,
you said you do with your mate.
yeah, my mate Matt Sweeney, who I know listens, and yeah, so you alternate, and you make that last five, I'd blown to pieces. You were hitting some really serious paces.
Were you surprised? Because you've never swum with me before, have you? So you must have thought like I've got him covered, didn't
I
you?
thought if there's any way I'm gonna actually be able to maybe be competitive with you, it would be in the swim. And nah, you're swimming really, really well. Like again, you consider we're at the end of what, a 3K main set, and you were dropping sub 1:1500s and making them look pretty easy. Like I was gasping for air, and you were just like, yeah, what's the next one? When are we going? I think it's. I mean, looking at this course, I think it's really like made for you. It's a very Joe Skipper sort of course. The only thing I wish is that the run was a little bit more challenging because it really is just 4 flat laps.
Yeah, it's a shame there's not any hills at all, and it's a shame that it's not one lap. Really, it should be a one lap course.
Well, they could, couldn't they? They could come down further south of the, like where we are, where Antibes. I don't know how to pronounce it in French, but it's probably a good 20K
Yeah,
from
they could come
next.
down to here, then they could bring it inland a bit. So you've got
Yeah,
like
all the undulations.
a few undulations and then back on the coast. They could make a really awesome one lap course here. Like there's so many different hills they could put in and like go through the different town centers. Like they could come through the town center of Antibes and then some of the other villages all the way, or towns all the way down. It would be really amazing. I mean, imagine the atmosphere if you went through all them.
I think again, it's extremely contrasting being here. I mean, I was in St. George last year. I was in Kona last year. This is a city. Like it's not like, St. George is a nice town. Kona is a country town. This is a full-on city. Like we've been even just riding along that coastal path a couple of days ago when we were getting to that ride. There's people everywhere. I really feel like, again, you want to talk about the progress of the sport, and I know there's the purists going, oh, it's not Kona. Like I really feel like we're going to see these streets lined. I think it's going to be unlike, we talk about a little bit about Lee Drive, and that's where the crowd is on in Kona. I think you could see the entire run just absolutely surrounded by fans. It's going to be unlike anything. Like, I really feel this is a positive step for the sport. Looking at, like, it is a world championship course to me. Like it is tough. There's a lot of, one of the things I've spoken to you a lot about is the fact that there's been so many slots rolling further down. I'm curious to see how the course or the age groupers in particular handle this course. It is not an easy bike course. Like it's not steep. It's relentless.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Just relentless. Just there's always something in there coming. Like,
Yeah.
and then even on the descent, it's not one where you can relax and
At
get your
all.
energy back. You got to really concentrate, haven't you? Otherwise you just crash.
It literally never ended. I could not believe, because you sort of, guys playing. You can see the plane, I guess, where there's that 10K back into town. You can see it, but it just never seems to get any closer. I honestly was descending for 20 minutes, going, is this like, I'm surely getting close, and I took a corner. I'm like, fucking hell, I'm still just as, it's so far down.
Because you see the riverbed, don't you? And that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
makes you think that you're close, don't you?
But no, it's exciting. But look, we'll probably, we could talk about Nice ad nauseum, but there's plenty of other things to talk about. Before we do that, guys, if you enjoy the podcast, we say it every week, patreon.com/talking triathlon bonus monthly episodes. We're going to do another one any day soon. Jimbo has not been replaced. It is just the challenges of European internet, as Joe knows with your podcast the other day. But that's where you go to support the podcast. We put it towards the video editor, does the reels and stuff like that. But Joe Skipper, let's start with the PTO Asian Tour in Singapore a few weeks ago. I was there. You watched it on TV. What do you want to start with? You want to start with the women's race?
Yeah, go on then. Talk about how it planned out, or
Yeah. Again, for me, I think it's very different being there in person. Like I didn't have the same, I guess, viewpoint over the race because of where, I was at the finish line in the VIP area, and you sort of get a sense of things. I was also rushing to get my bike in a transition because I was racing the age group race. But I mean, I can talk about it, I guess, from the perspective of being there. You can talk about it as what was it like as a broadcast?
It was definitely the best one they've done so far. Like they showed, I think they took on some of the feedback that people had been saying constantly about, like, show some of the battles further down the field. But the annoying thing was they were showing you some of the people running further down the field, but then just as it was about to happen in an overtake or something, they would cut away.
Yep.
And they would miss it. So it was like they almost got it. They at least they've taken the feedback on board. But it was like, when, for instance, when Sam Long got caught by Dennis Chauveau in the men's race, and he was catching Daniel Beckard. He went with Dennis Chauveau. Then they cut away. They were showing loads of stuff at the finish line from the guys that had already finished.
Yep.
And the next thing, they cut back to Sam Long, and he's 50 meters or 60 meters behind. And it's obvious that Dennis has broken him. And it was like, if they need to show that bit. Like, once people are finished, we don't need to see him messing around backstage, like high-fiving each other. We want to see the action. But they are getting better. And it looked like the best course so far because it was a bit undulating. So, people could get away, they could attack the climbs, and the coverage was definitely the best so far. Like, I thought it was a lot better. And definitely when you see the 70.3 Worlds that was filmed like a week later,
yeah.
It was night and day. 70.3 Worlds was absolutely dreadful to watch and actually quite painful. Whereas the PTO one, watching it and even going back to Milwaukee, they're actually like a lot better and more of a pleasant experience watching it. And the commentaries so much better. Like, it was like night and day, honestly, like, to be honest.
I feel like being there, I mean, I raced the age group race on the morning, which is basically the same course. I think we had a few sort of longer and back sessions on the bike, but to race in Singapore like that, like, I mean, that weekend, because we also got the Paris test event as well, I suppose, but that weekend of triathlon where you had, the Paris test event literally riding up the Champs-Élysées, in Paris, and then 2 days later had the same thing happening in Singapore. What a weekend for the sport, because when I heard that this race was coming to Singapore, I honestly expected it to be out on East Coast or on Sentosa, so that's just out of the CBD. But this thing was at Marina Bay Sands, and like, the bike course is legitimately one of the best bike courses I've ever ridden on, personally ever. And I've done 35 70.3s around the world. It was phenomenal for me, and I think that from we've sort of, everybody's talked a little bit about the PTO courses in the fact that they are pretty boring. This had it all. This had some technical sections. This had those, descent. There was one quite steep climb, not terrible, and then one really long grindy climb. But again, some quite technical, little chicanes and things like that. So fantastic. And then the run was just, again, the conditions, much like Kona, I suppose, they're challenging themselves. So while the run course wasn't that difficult in the sense that it was, very hilly, or, I mean, there was one sort of hill at the end. It wasn't technical. It was hot, man. It was so hot out there, and that presents its own challenge. So I really feel like it's a huge step, to be honest. I think in fact, all three locations we've seen this year with the PTO have been like really great courses for races. And Singapore, to me, is definitely the best of the three of them. So
yeah, it was definitely the best one. I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't say the other courses were that good. Like, I thought Milwaukee was a pretty crap course, to be honest. Like, it was just flat, like, on the bike. And
I think for the broadcast, it was good. I think what I liked about the Milwaukee course was, as a spectator watching it on home, it was very easy to understand where they were in the race. Whereas some of the other ones, like we used the Collins Cup, we've spoken a lot about, you could have no idea where anyone is on that fucking course.
Yeah, I mean, from that point, it's good. But like, they need some more hills, I think, and stuff like that. And like, and not necessarily to go like to do loads of laps, like just decent like courses with some hills, and like make it in more like. And I don't know why they stick to the 100K, like, because like when you get like the cycling classics and stuff like that, they all have their own identity, don't they? Like, you have like San Remo, you have Paris-Roubaix, but it's not like they say a classic has to be 250 kilometers and we have to do this. It's like, just make it a cool race and just come back to it every year. And each one, like, it's all well and good having some flat ones, but then they should have some undulating or hilly ones. And like,
you make an excellent point, right? Because I assume that the main reason that they've picked that distance is it obviously fits a time slot. So maybe what they should be factoring in is more the time, because you're right. If you have a really challenging course, obviously the time's going to blow out. So it doesn't need to be 100K. Maybe it is a shorter course because it's going to take more time.
yeah.
Similarly, if you have a really flat, fast course, that's when you could go longer. But they could actually start to mix things up a little bit, because you're right. If you put in, a climb like we did the other day, and it's going to be in this Ironman course, you couldn't finish the race in the same period of time. So maybe they have the room to change the distances rather than a standard 100. Because I mean, F1s aren't the same distance every lap. Like, it goes more to the nuances of that location. And I actually think that's a really good point.
And they don't necessarily have to keep it to a 2K swim. Some of them might be like a 1K swim and a 100 bike, but then another one might be a 2.5, 3K swim, like, and it brings over the course of the series, if there's like 6 or 7 races, you're going to get the best person. I mean, like, some of them could be like a knockout one, for instance, like, you could cut the distance by a third and say they've got 30 people in there. You race it over, say, like a 700 swim, 25 or 30K bike or whatever it is, and then the run, you get 10 minutes from when the first person crosses the line to when you start the second race. Similar to what Super League does, but a long distance format. And then as soon as the top 20 people get in, they're into the next round. and the bottom 10 are eliminated.
Well, again,
You know,
you've got sprint races in F1. Like there
yeah,
is variation. And I again, no surprise, I'm a huge fan of Super League and work with Macca, but I love that idea. I feel like, look, we've obviously heard the announcement that they go into this World Triathlon Middle Distance Series next year, where there's 7 to 10 races.
but imagine a 1/3 PTO race and 10 people got eliminated after the
I'd
first
love
one,
it.
and then the next 20 go, and then you do it again, then you do it for the third time. So you basically just need to be in the top 20. But could you imagine that? I mean, a 700-meter swim, it would be like you're not going to be that far behind. People 25, 27K bike, or no, it'd be a 27K bike, and then what would the run be? 6K.
Yeah.
But literally, so you would have to run pretty fast or race pretty hard to make it into the top 20. But then literally 10 minutes recovery from the first person before you're off again. Boom. And then again.
Have you ever done any of those back-to-back races before?
No, but I like the look of them. I think they look awesome.
I did one in Canada again. So I was at Super League on the weekend. I was helping out with MG with the Byron Victorious team, and I saw the carnage. But like I did one of those back-to-back races in Canada a few years ago, and swimming. I honestly cannot emphasize how difficult it is to jump in the water after you've run or done anything, even with a slight break. Like the arms are full of, the arms are heavy, the body's heavy. I'd love to see it because it is putting the longer distance athletes into something that they're going to not be comfortable with, because it is so standard in middle and long course racing.
And also, if we keep the same distance, why can't we do some where we do like a run, bike, swim?
Yeah.
Because people always say the swim has a big impact. Well, what actually happens if we do a run, bike, swim? Then does it have the same impact on the race? Are the same people still at the front? Well, we'd find out, wouldn't we?
It's funny because one of the things I was talking with James about when we were watching the Milwaukee race a few weeks ago, I said it is, I guess, one of the challenges of the sport when you watch it and there's this hype and there's this build up and the heartbeat starts and the music starts and then they jump in the water, and it is quite an anticlimactic way to start a race.
Yeah.
Because I still don't know the way to do it. Like the swims are, compared to everything else, it's kind of the most boring part of the race to
100%,
watch.
yeah.
So I don't know maybe that's the where you do need to mix it, because it does feel like these races, and again, I'm going to specifically refer to the PTO in this instance, but there is this excellent build-up. I think the pre-race stuff they do now is quite great. Like, they've got the pundits talking at the start, they've got they're setting the scene and everything, and then it's like into the water. And then it is this kind of, and again, I don't know the way to do it, but I think the Aussie exit is a good addition. That that is something we've seen.
I like the Aussie exits. I think they really break it up.
It's the best part,
yeah,
right?
and I think the longer one, like they had in Milwaukee, is a really good idea, because if people get out the water and they've got some legs to sprint, they can actually create some separation.
Because the swim sucks. That's why we like it so much, because it adds an element to it. But no, I think that the one thing I really enjoy about it, I was talking with Sam at the Singapore race. There's an open dialogue with the PTO, which I really, really appreciate. Like I said, they've got Jack Kelly in doing the commentary, which I think is a direct reaction to the feedback that the commentary lacked that really specific knowledge. I think Crowe, excellent. Rini, excellent. Like I feel like the PTO really does take the feedback on board, which is something that another organization, which we'll talk about later, doesn't seem to do at all.
And what they could do as well, and one of them would be like, say, a run and then a swim, and then a bike,
Yep.
but the bike's draft legal.
Yeah, I'd love.
So
I'd love to see that.
So literally, you get through the run, the swim, and then it's like you can work together.
Yeah.
So even if some people say there's a group of 3 or 4 at the front, well, it could come down to a sprint finish. Are they going to work together? Are they going to sit in? Tactics come at play.
Yeah.
And that could make it really exciting, because then you're definitely going to get, it's pretty likely that you're going to get a sprint finish of some sort between people, and it's going to come down to the wire. That would be quite exciting to see.
I was having chats with the guys at Super League on the weekend, and one of the things, they were basically asking me about is like, how do you make this, what's missing or what's the opportunities? And look, this might be controversial, but I feel like you almost need to moneyball the sport a little bit. Like I feel like we've got, at the moment, you've got the sport where you've got these 3 or 4 people. Like let's use short course specifically as an example now. Let's move away from the middle and long distance stuff. But if I watch a WTCS race at the moment and there's either Hayden Wild or Alex Yee, even maybe Christian, anywhere near the front off the bike, it's game over.
Oh, it's boring, yeah. You know what I think they should do, actually, at every PTO race they do? I think there should be a draw an hour before.
Yep.
Where you pick the order of the race.
Yep.
So you don't know. It's almost like some balls or whatever, or someone
like
picks
lottery.
in a hat.
Yeah.
And it's like you pick it out, bike, swim, run, whatever it is, you pick the order out. So no one knows until an hour before the race what the order of the race is going to be. Yeah. And that's the order. So then every race you go to, it could be different. You could get a swim, bike, run. You could get something completely different. But from how they pick it out, that is the order of what the race is going to be. I think that would make it like really good, so no one knows.
I'd really like to see them. I am all for the men and women having separate race. I think that's a must. I'd like to see them on the same day. And I don't know how this is me talking without the broadcast hat on, right? Because I don't know how you do that. I think they need to be separate. But I really do like the 2 day of racing concept. I feel like that was the best thing Super League did, was where it was multi-day racing and there was jeopardy the entire weekend. And again, I keep going back to F1 because I think it's the most relevant, example for triathlon. You've got the qualifying, right, day one. So maybe there is some sort of system like that too. I don't know. Like I said,
well, they could do, say, like a prologue. So they pick out of a hat the day before.
Yep.
And it could be like either, say, a 300 or 400 meter swim. It could be a 10K bike, or it could be whatever it is on the run. But then you end up taking that distance off the race the following day.
Yeah.
But you do that as the qualifying one. And then however you do in that, you start in pursuit order the following day. So say like it's a 300 meter swim.
Yep.
The swim then for the race goes down to 1700 meters the following day.
Yep.
But you all do a 300 meter swim. And then depending on how you win, say Aaron Roy's the first.
Yep.
And then, I don't know, say Jason West is 15 seconds behind in second. Aaron Roy would start 15 seconds ahead of Jason West, or whatever. And that's how you start the race. But then the swim the following day is only 1600 meters or 1700. But then also it could be a bike. So potentially you could get a 10K bike. Lionel Sanders could win that. Then he would start the swim the following day for the 2K swim. X amount of time.
He need he need a lot of time.
Yeah, but you imagine that when people come past him, he may be then able to latch on and jump on their feet, because like it could be Lionel and Sam and Lionel could be pretty much together. Yeah. They could have a chat then saying we'll work together. Aaron Royal could be starting 30, 40 seconds behind, but normally after the surge has gone in the swim, people slow down. So potentially if some decent swimmers didn't catch him until 700, 800 meters in, is he then able to hold on to their feet for a bit? It could completely change it. You don't know. It would be quite exciting because it would just be something different. That's what you need, isn't it? You just need stuff to keep people on their toes when you're watching.
Well, the thing I was going to say is I also feel like, and again, like I said, this might be controversial, but maybe it isn't a case of having the top athletes there. Maybe we need to actually look at, I would love to see it where you actually look at the statistics of the athletes and try to pick 20 or 30 athletes who are going to create the most compelling form of racing.
Yeah.
Like again, watching Super League, I know that once Hayden comes in, Hayden's probably going to win most of the things, right? I feel like remove those top guys and you have these 20 athletes who are of a very similar level. I'm not talking about getting, just Tim Ford and his mates. I'm talking about still, great athletes, but more statistically similar, so that the races are going to be, because the thing that
what you need to do though is you actually need to make the racing, change it so the racing actually exposes the top athletes' strengths.
Okay.
So the top athletes are there.
Yep.
But you need to have a certain format of racing.
So they don't just run away with it.
Yeah. So like, what are their weaknesses? If the race weakness is the swim, then when you're programming the races, it's a slightly longer swim.
Yep.
Because you want to expose them a bit.
Yeah.
So you just need to change the format. You want all the top athletes there, but there's nothing saying you've got to do this distance. It's totally up to Super League or whoever the organizer is, what they want to do.
Yeah.
So if they know what the athletes who are normally going to come out on top are, their weaknesses, then they just need to make courses that expose it.
Yeah.
The swim's their weakness. If they lose a gap on the swim and are behind on the bike, they have to try and run to catch up. So what do you want to do? You want to expose their swimming. So you need to make the swim longer. Do you make the swim more technical, like a short sprint to a boy and then a lot more technical boys? So they end up getting dropped, slightly longer swim.
I mean, that's another thing you don't often see, right? I would love to see a really technical swim course, right? Because it's often straight line, turn, straight line. Imagine if they actually had like
6 boys in a 300-meter swim.
Yeah.
Because then,
and on angles. So you're
exactly, Because then the top swimmer is going to get to the buoy and going to be surging out and getting a clear run. Whereas if you're in like 10th place, 11th place, and you're all on each other's hips, you're clashing and stuff, because you might have a right-hand turn, like say a right 90, and then you might have a left 90. So if you're on the right side for the good side for the first 2 boys, then all of a sudden the person who's on the other side has got the better line for the next boy. So then automatically it makes it harder if you're not at the front. So I think you would definitely want all the top people there, but you just need to change it a bit
to make it
more exciting, give other people more of a chance,
So for your benefit, you'd have a really short swim, a really technical bike, and a really technical run. That'd be ideal for you. 50-meter swim, long bike, hilly run.
But I mean, it's just about like having. It doesn't really matter about like suiting me. I mean, that would be great for me, but just like having it. So I mean, I think ideally, what the aim is, you want to have as many people coming to the end closely together, don't you? So it's like coming to the last. If it finishes with a run, the last 2K of the run, someone's trying to hang on and you're like, will they survive? Will they get caught? And then you want to know that there's going to be a bit of a sprint from behind and stuff. Yeah. You want as many people coming to the end as close as possible.
Let's be honest. I think the most exciting part of the races we've seen from the PTO lately have been the Jason West. Like
Yeah.
I call it the Jason West factor because he always is, coming, trying to, bridge that gap. Like the fact that he was running down, if he was a minute further, closer off the bike in Milwaukee, we would have seen something unbelievable. Like, I still think it was exciting what he did, but you're right. You need that because you want it to come together at the end. And even with the women's race, obviously we had Taylor Knibb. Again, we're going back to Milwaukee, but so far ahead that it's sort of, the race for, fourth through till seventh, we had Ellie, Holly, Kat, and Lucy Barham. Like that was exciting, right? And I always feel like that's what I was sort of getting at. Is if you take out that outlier or those one or two outliers, and you have the athletes who are creating those really exciting, like that to me, because same with 70.3 worlds for the women, Taylor Knibb was miles ahead. The men's race was a little bit different, but yeah, if you could just take out those outliers, I think the racing would be so much more exciting.
The racing would be so much
penalize them, but yeah, work out a way to. I think what you're saying is a really good way of doing that. Actually, is just try to create courses that compounds their weaknesses or creates
just compounds their weaknesses. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you're the course planner, because there's nothing stopping people, this arbitrary 100K distance is just a completely random distance that the PTO have said they've got to do, but there's nothing tying them into that. They could do any distance. They just need to, I guess, if they want the race to be done in 3 hours or 3.5 hours, whatever it is, they can think of any format they want.
As long as it conforms to the time. Yeah.
3.5 hours. And at the end of the day, the more exciting it is, the more people are going to watch it and the more likely they are to actually get funding, or like sponsors, which I guess is their main aim, because they keep saying they want to make it popular on TV. So they actually need to make it as exciting as possible. So you'd think it would be more in their favor to actually do that.
Well, let's go back to Singapore, because one of the things I was going to talk about being there on the ground, and I feel like, and again, I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like one of the things in Singapore in particular that was sort of holding the race as a live race back was the age group race, and not because it was well separated. There was no crossover, but if you saw on the broadcast, you had the finish line and then this huge area where the age group transition was. And I feel like where we were, you could only really align one part of the course.
Yeah,
like I really feel. I mean, if they hadn't have had, and again, I understand that age group racing is a big part of their vision, but I am not interested in age group racing for this. My passion is for the pro racing. Selfishly, I do age group racing, but I still feel that is probably one of my concerns about what the PTO announced, is the fact that they're always going to be hamstrung a little bit by the fact that they have to factor in these thousands of age groupers doing the race. Because if you could move that transition for the age groupers somewhere else and you had the finish line literally lined like it was in Milwaukee with fans, the atmosphere would have been, because on the ground, I think the atmosphere was lacking in Singapore. Like, great course. The event itself, I think, could have been better. And that's because I feel like that age group element hamstrung what they could do a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing where, I mean, I don't know the solution, but like that Singapore race, I think was excellent. I was absolutely blind drunk during the men's race because I went out and had beers after my own race in the morning. But, we had Ashley Gentle finally get her first win there. And then we had Christian Blumenfeld in the men's, again, finally get his first PTO victory.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think it was always going to be coming that Christian was going to win one.
Yep.
But I think it was a shame that with a lot of these PTO races and 70.3 worlds, we've still been lacking getting all the big hitters on the same day.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting point, because we will talk about 70.3 worlds, and I need to make the disclaimer. I don't think that it's congratulations to the winners, but I challenge. If anybody tells me that they pick the top 3 from the men's race in the 70.3 worlds, I will call you. I will look down the you're a liar. You're a liar. Like, I don't think anybody would have picked that top 3.
I didn't actually know of the guy that won. That was
never heard of him before in my life.
The first time I was aware of him. I mean, congratulations. Like, I mean, you can only beat at the end of the day the people that turn up. But it is a shame that all these races you're like sporadically getting some really good names on each start line, but you're not getting everyone there every time. Like, especially with the PTO ones, I think Europe was like pretty stacked.
I think that's the most stacked field we've seen, to be honest.
Yeah, and then Milwaukee, there were some people missing, and then with Singapore and 70.3 worlds, it was people almost had to make their mind up. What one do you favoritize more? Because you couldn't guarantee that you could do well in both.
Well, somebody tried, right? We saw Christian try, and
Jason West.
Yeah,
Jason West was ill, missed it.
Sam Long, Lionel Sanders, Ben Canute's come back and said COVID, but Christian, he did the Olympic test event on the Thursday or the Friday. Flew to Singapore, won the Singapore race, and then a week later, and he finished 35th or something like that. And again, I think
if you were going to do it, you'd have to go all in for Singapore.
Yep.
and then it would just be a 50-50 as to whether or not you felt good for
But we shouldn't be
70.3 worlds.
we shouldn't be in it. This is the point. I know you're going to agree with me on this though, but the sport shouldn't be putting you guys in that position. Like I still cannot for the life of me work out when this is a global sport that operates around the world, across time zones, across winters, and like, it's winter in the northern hemisphere, it's summer in the southern hemisphere. Why are the races always so squashed together?
Don't you think though that was part of the PTO's thing, was putting a race on a week before the other side of the world, almost to take the best names away from 70.3 worlds, to be like,
Is 70.3
cooperate.
world still a platinum? Was that still a platinum point race?
It was like the level below
Okay.
whatever the PTO is, so whatever that one's called. But I think it was almost like they did it on purpose, because it was like, we're going to make sure that your top athletes aren't in top form, because we're going to put a bigger prize money race on the week before.
Well, this is the point that I was getting to. And again, I don't want to discredit the winners. I think we have, Taylor Nibber, repeat world champion, fantastic. She's an incredible athlete. I've heard whisper she's going to Kona. Rico, the new men's world champion. But do you feel like the fact that, because again, particularly the men's race, I did feel like it was a relatively, like, it didn't look like a world championship field to me. And do you think that what we're seeing, or the way it went, is this showing the decline of 70.3 world championships? Because I feel like in 2019, here in Nice, where we saw that race with Gustav and Alistair, and like, it felt like 70.3 has gone from strength to strength. We saw that incredible race that I froth over, Ali, Javier, and Jan in 2018. 2019, we come to Nice. We have this, this unknown Norwegian who's gone on to do great things. And it just feels like it's gone downhill since then.
It does feel like that. But then what I would say is, 'cause I've been thinking about this actually the last day or so, because I thought, the 70.3 worlds, it wasn't that good a field that, the guys that won. But then I thought to myself, actually, if you go back to 2019, when Gustav won, I didn't even know really who he was
at all.
And then the following year, he did great things.
But he beat Alistair Brownlee.
Yeah, but then you could say that these guys beat Christian Blumenfeld.
You make an excellent point, actually.
Like,
you make an excellent point. Yeah.
Well, regardless, if he wasn't on top form, that's not their fault, is it? He turned up so you can think that. And then also I thought, well, if you go look at the cycling road race from a few years ago when it was in Harrogate, Mads Pedersen won, and everyone was like, well, who the hell is Mads Pedersen? And then since then, he's gone on to win some big classics. He's been up there in the Tour de France, winners of stages. So I guess what you'd have to do, what would be interesting to see, is how will these guys on the podium, or like that were away, perform next year? And was this just because it was the end of the season, they just kind of, they were good this year, but this was the first race they kind of executed to the best of their ability, and then next year they go on to do really big things? Or will it look like a flash in the pan? That race was a bit of a fluke, they haven't performed that well the following year. But if they're consistently up there next year and getting quality results, then you'd be like, oh, they were quality athletes. The 70.3 worlds wasn't a fluke. Look at the results they're getting since then. And now they're consistently doing it, because before Gustav had done that 70.3 worlds win, no one would have picked him to get him top three. I think Christian was the one who people thought would be, he was a long way down,
4th or 5th or something. He was top 10.
I think he was further down that. I think it was like 9th or 10th. I think he was like right down,
because it was Gustav, Alistair, Rudy. The podium, right?
Exactly. And Rudy, like, he'd had a few good results up until then, but that was his first kind of like breakthrough race. And I guess everyone has got to have a breakthrough race at some point. You're never a big name until you have that breakthrough race. And was this just a breakthrough race? I don't know. We'll see how they perform next year, and then you kind of get an idea.
I saw Tim Hemming put out a tweet, and he said he's the first world champion in the sport that was born in the 21st century.
Really?
Wow. 22 years old, so obviously born 2001.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I hope one of the things I think I tweeted this week saying that I do love it when you have when you're completely wrong with your predictions at one of these championship races, because it means that there is this, as you said, we never heard of Gustav before. He didn't, he's the talk of the town. I hope that's what it is. But I just, again, I don't know why. I love this sport, and I was so disinterested in 70.3. I tried watching it. I found the broadcast really challenging. The course just didn't inspire me. I mean, I was probably a bit soured on it leading in, because I wanted to go do that race. And as soon as I saw the fuckery around the accommodation, like the logistics and people complain on the ground, and we've heard all the dramas. We had Matt Hansen with us yesterday, whose bike got stuck in Helsinki. I was probably soured on the event in the lead up to it, but I just felt like what went from being the potentially really exciting location for a race, it feels like they're missing like they're just missing the mark at the moment. And you know, it seems like every race that Ironman put on at the moment, there's a death or there's something. We heard about the tragic, you know, two
And
deaths in Cork, and
the 20-meter draft zone as well needs to be enforced really, because you see the PTO races and a lot more exciting people getting dropped, whereas this draft in 12 meters and then the motorbikes coming close definitely doesn't do the sport any
oh,
favors.
here we go, Jeff
Like,
Skipper on the motorbikes. It's your
yeah,
favorite
because
topic.
I know, because like you watch it and it just ruins the races
Yeah.
for spectators. I mean, you can't tell me that the best swimmers are always the best bikers and no one can bridge up. I mean, you had some absolutely quality cyclists behind, and you're telling me that they're more smashing it and, you know, losing time. You know, it's just, it doesn't make sense that every time you seem to see an Ironman race, the people that get out the front, swim at the front, that have the lead motorbikes, that have the motorbikes broadcast them, because the motorbikes very rarely go back to the chase groups, never ever getting caught by people from behind.
Yeah.
You know, it's bollocks, you know, and it
Yeah.
ruins it. It makes it boring to watch. It does not do our sport any favors. It's like people say, oh, it all comes down to swim because you're in the group, but that's rubbish, because if you take the motorbikes out of it,
Yep.
the front group is only going to go as fast as the person on the front. The chase group is only going to go as fast as the people on the front. So if you've got a lot of firepower in the chase group on the bike, you can't tell me when they're all drilling it, a losing time, you know.
Yep.
It just, and it's not like you wouldn't expect it every now and again, but it's every single time, you know.
The other thing as well, I think we're talking about the officiating, because it was this time, well, around a bit later, but last year we had you on post 70.3 Worlds where there was that that shocking, disgraceful call on Sam Long. He got absolutely robbed. And this year we're talking about Lionel Sanders with the invisible centerline pass. What is this going on? Because in addition to the drafting and in addition to the motorbikes, I just think that we're having shithouse, unacceptable official. Like, because look, you know, I understand that the rules are a bit vague or whatever, and there's always going to be a level of interpretation for the referees. But you know, there's big money on the line for these guys. And as you said, I didn't realize this because again, I wasn't watching the race because I found it really boring. But Lionel had, you know, he was in sixth position or something like that. But like he had ridden himself back up toward, you know, sort of within contention to have, you know, be disqualified when it really just sounds like it was a gut call because there were not even line markers. As a professional, you make your living through this sport, mate. How concerned are you about the just randomness to these decisions?
Well, yeah, and it's just a shame that the marshals haven't actually got some kind of camera on them, so you can actually
No accountability.
Yeah, no accountability, because like it was over the center line, but there wasn't a center line, so it was like
And the footage of Christian. And the footage of Christian.
And the footage of Christian, yeah.
Yeah.
Not, well, Ironman even shared that on their own channel.
Yeah.
So like, you know, that's the most worrying
It's
thing.
arbitrary. It's an arbitrary application of the rules.
Yeah, and they don't enforce what they say are the rules
Yeah.
with every athlete. It's just a bit random. I guess that's because there's different marshals on different bikes and they're taking it into account. I mean, with the one with Christian, I personally don't think should have been disqualified because he's overtaken athletes. Like, what's he supposed to do?
I mean,
like,
I'll say this because I feel like the biggest fundamental flaw with the way that Ironman officiate these races is they seem, and again, I might be wrong, but is it the same set of rules for the amateurs and the pros?
I think so, yeah. Like,
it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I can understand the no crossing the center line rule for the amateurs, but the professional athletes should be able to make use, because you guys are professionals. Look at this descent in Nice again. You guys will be able to, you know how to descend, right? The age groupers, I understand why they're putting restrictions because you don't want to end up with 6 of them over the cliff, right? But they need to, like, same with the drafting you were talking about. I understand they cannot have a 20-meter draft when you've got thousands of age groupers on the course. Pro racing, fucking have 20 meters.
Well, Race Rangers even said if they basically pay for the guy and the actual chips to get there, they'll do it for free. So it's not even going to cost them. To me, that just seems like a no-brainer. Why would you not get the guy out there and get him to do it so the marshals can actually have something to like inform their decisions? But
accountability again.
Yeah, accountability. It's like, but then I mean, people have said it for years. They're not really that fussed about the pro racing. I mean, they use the broadcast to plug their sponsors, which, you know, I'm sponsored by Hoka. I love their stuff. But when I see it on the broadcast and they force it upon you, it makes you think like, God, if I wasn't sponsored by Hoka, you know, it would drive me mad. You know, I'd think, God, I don't fit, like, I wouldn't buy a pair of the shoes because they're just, the broadcast just kills it for you, doesn't it? Same with their other stuff. They keep going on about Morton and mentioning Morton for everything and everything. It's like, guys, just let us watch the sport for what it is. We know you've got your sponsors and everything. You don't need to keep like ramming it down us, you know, at every single opportunity, like every 2-3 minutes, plug in a sponsor. It's just, I mean, is that just is that just an American thing, or is that just Ironman doing it? Like, I don't know.
We don't see it in the PTO racing. We don't see it when you watch World Triathlon. Again, and I understand that I'm an outlier. You're probably an outlier too. If you have to do it that way, create an alternative option where you pay $5 and you don't get the ad. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I'd
don't
happily
understand.
pay
Maybe
$5 to
look,
not have that.
to be honest, maybe that's what outside offers. I'm not sure. I've not looked into it enough.
Outside's garbage, mate. It's exactly the same, and it don't work half the time.
I know.
Like,
I
it's
certainly know it doesn't.
absolute. It's garbage.
Again, I still think, and again, I feel like this is a problem with World Triathlon putting everything behind a paywall. There should be the sport needs to be publicly viewable without barriers to entry. So that's maybe where you have the advertising. And again, I still think it's too much. But then have something for the people. Because who was I was talking with Belinda Granger because we were in London together, and she somehow stumbled upon a feed that didn't have the ads, and she said you could tell when the ads were playing because it just went silent, but it stayed on.
Oh, that was what they did in the end. So they put the YouTube one on, and when they didn't have the ad breaks, but the thing what they kept having sponsors that they would interview during the coverage. That was the bit what was really annoying. I mean, the ad breaks, that was what IronMan ended up posting in the end because the outside thing wouldn't work. So they end up posting it on their own channel. Luckily, they end up doing that because otherwise we wouldn't have even been able to see it. I mean, I don't know why they don't just stick with YouTube because it works so well for the full distances. Like, just
money.
let us. I mean, but money. But like, if you can't get people watching the sport, who's going to enter the races?
Here's the thing, though. Like, I feel like you've suddenly got this new outside thing where people are expected or encouraged to subscribe, but there's been no change. Like, if I have to look, if they said, look, we want you to pay, but we're going to use the money you pay to improve the broadcast, I'd be on board with that.
Yeah, it'd be worthwhile. I mean, with other sports, you pay to watch it, don't you? You know, like, I mean, I would do it if it was. It's just a shame it's not actually decent coverage. But I think if they actually made decent coverage and looked more further ahead, like the PTO are doing, they might get some big investment come in because people think actually this is a really cool sport, you know, and stuff. But when the coverage looks so bad, it's actually quite hard to watch sometimes because they have terrible angles on the bike where they show people side on, which for me is like the worst angle. You've got no perspective of where they are in the group. Are they moving forward? Are they getting dropped? You know, and it's just terrible camera angles. The commentary is just painful. It's just, I mean, but like people have been saying it for years and they just don't really, I don't think they're too bothered. I mean, they're getting a little bit better, but like, I would be up for doing it, you know, and come up with some really good suggestions. But I think like loads of people have got some good suggestions, haven't they? But whether or not they'll take it on board is just another thing.
Now back to the Lionel disqualification. I mean, I don't know how much you want to share, but you had a chat with Lionel post race. Like, you know, where's his head at?
He's really disappointed. He was really disappointed about it and he actually thought first of all that he had a 5-minute penalty.
Yeah.
So he stopped in the penalty tent. And he said, and then Matt Troutman came in because I think Matt had a penalty as well. And Matt said, mate, you got disqualified. Like, you didn't get a penalty. And then he was like, what? So then he said he kind of cruised it, got to the end of the bike. He said he felt really good on the run. And he just kind of ran it anyway, but like not full on, but did a good run. And he was like, God, I could have run really well. But he said it was frustrating for him that he didn't know that he was actually DQ'd because then he could have carried on, finished the race, gone full on, and then appealed it at the end.
Yeah.
And then something might have changed.
But that never works, though, does it? They never overtake.
But it's different though because like normally you see people complain about a 5-minute penalty.
Yeah.
But this is just whether or not he actually got DQ'd or not DQ'd. And then if he could have actually appealed it and said, well, look, Christian did this and he didn't get DQ'd at the time, so you've got to be consistent. I think you've got a good chance of that because it's just a straight, do we DQ him or do we not? Whereas getting a 5-minute penalty overturned for drafting is going to be impossible because that's just, you know, at the moment how they do it is just up to what the referees perceive as 12 meters or 20 meters, depending on the race, you know.
Well, we discussed this when we were on the bike yesterday. I think it was with you, or it might have been with Matt. But no, it was with your dad. And like we're talking about the fact that I think a 5-minute penalty in a 70.3 it's game over, right? Like I feel like that, you know,
90 seconds would be enough, wouldn't it? And then you're more likely to give someone like a 60 or a 90-second penalty, and then it's not a race ender.
Yep.
You know, like that would be a lot better. Whereas 5 minutes, yeah, for drafting, I mean, like especially if someone's done it by an accident. I mean, if you give them a 60-second penalty, then they're still in the race, you know, and it's not the end of the world. But 5 minutes, that's too much for a 70.3, definitely. I mean, there's a lot for a full distance.
I also think that maybe it should be like on the spot, like literally the marshal stops.
Yeah, that's what I think it should be.
Unclip, both feet on the ground, stuff.
Yeah, the marshal just stops with you, times you, and then that's it. Don't have the penalty sense. I mean, have the penalty sense, like you say, for the age groupers, but for the pros, it's just a boom, 60-second stop.
Because let's say you are one of the strongest cyclists, you still influence the race, and I think that look, I don't want to get too much into the nitty gritty of officiating these races, but it is a pity that for the second year in a row, we're talking about underwhelming 70.3 World Championships.
But you get these with every sport. Like,
Yeah.
how many times do you see with football and like,
Let's talk about when Australia got robbed in the 2006 World Cup when Italy handballed it in the box.
Yeah,
We didn't get
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Like someone scores a goal and it was actually not over the line, or it was
It's true.
over
You
you
make
know.
an excellent point. It's not
Right.
isolated to triathlon, and it does give us something to talk
There's
about.
always drama, and in a world championships, it's always going to be massively highlighted because all the top guys are there.
Yep.
And you know, if it was a normal 70.3 race, we wouldn't be talking about it so much now. But because the world championships, it kind of gets a massive talking point. But the thing is, with the crossing the white lines, is I wonder if that's going to be the rule for the pros in Nice, because I think it's going to be impossible to stay on the inside the white lines on some of them corners, especially with the speeds you go and how technical they are. And like some of the corners, you're not going to be able to help yourself because you can't know what every corner is like in advance. And you know, you're racing, you're full on, you're in the zone. You know, you're not like.
The other point as well about that is, do we know any more about whether the road is going to be completely closed for that descent? Because yesterday when I was descending, and I stayed on my side of the road because I'm not you, I nearly got taken out by cars 3 times going around corners, and I was on my side of the road, and they just cut the corners. Like,
yeah, you've got to be. I mean, I only go over the side of the road when I see it's clear, but like on a corner when you're around the bend, I would always try and stay on my side of the road, definitely, you know. But I think it really needs to be closed. If it's not closed, then it's so dangerous. Like, to be honest, like.
Because the thing that I'm confused about is all along the course they've got these signs, and again, my French is not so good, but it indicates a lot of the time that it seemed as though one way was closed, one was open. But looking at the signs, it almost seemed like traffic was open the direction that.
Oh, is that what it looked like on there?
Yeah, because me and your dad were in the car after I got buckled, and we were looking. We even slowed down at a few to read them, and that's what Ray was saying. Is like it looks like traffic might be open in the direction.
Like, oh right, yeah, that
surely not.
I think it probably is. I think it probably is because some of these villages or towns are like so isolated.
Yeah,
they'd be stuck in. But I mean, it makes it sketchy. I mean, the main bit is just that last descent because you go through the villages and there's going to be people that are driving on the course. And I mean, you just hope that you don't see someone in a really dodgy point when you have them speed bumps and everything. I think if it's not closed, I think there's going to be like how many people have said it that someone will probably die on this course on race day.
I was saying that when we got in the car yesterday. Like I can't. I'm really. I wouldn't be surprised. Like they are. It's. I really feel like this is not an amateur course. Like you need to have a certain level of skill to be able to do this course. Like it is. There's that, as I was saying, that incredible descent where you go into the tunnels, which is probably 3/4 of the way through the bike before that second climb. I got vertigo of it. Like it's like a sheer drop.
Yeah, if you go off the side there, you're gone.
Game over.
Well, Matt told me that apparently Kevin Collington, when the 70.3 was on there, and they didn't descend that one, they descended another one. He went off the cliff, and he would have died, but he grabbed onto a tree. His bike was gone, so he never got his. I said, "What happened to his bike?" He said, "His bike, that was it. It was completely gone, never retrieved." And luckily, he managed to survive because he got hold of a tree when he was like falling down the mountain.
I believe it after seeing those. There's literally again, guys. We're talking about like what? Not even a meter high barricades on the side of like a sheer drop.
50 centimeter high, 75 centimeter high barricade.
They have got the exclamation spray painted on the road.
Yeah, they have an exclamation, and when you see that, you know, brake, because if you go over here, you're gone. Like it's a 200 meter drop. Mate, it's literally game over. Like I don't know.
Though.
It's beautiful, but if you overcook it or your brakes don't work when there's an exclamation mark, hang on for dear life.
Yeah, rough as guts. But let's go to the Olympic test event. Well, we've spoken about IronMan and 70.3 and stuff, but you must be pretty smug after that Olympic test event. You had the Team GB athletes clean up in both the men's and women's race.
To be honest, I wasn't even that bothered, to be honest. Like, who did well? I mean, it is always good, obviously. Like,
don't pretend you're a frother, man. I know you love it.
I just want to see good racing, to be honest. Like,
did you think it was good racing?
Like, not really.
He dropped a 29-minute 10K.
Yeah, but the bike was crap, wasn't it, to watch? Like, it was just a procession through Paris. Like, it was a crappy race. I mean, I found it extremely boring, to be honest. The swim was all right because it was a bit of because the current made it entertaining and stuff, but the bike was just boring. Like it was just
the back came together. It was a humongous. It came
together, and then they just ride round. I mean, my problem with short distance racing is, at the moment in the current format and on the current courses, it doesn't test the best triathlete. It tests the best runner that can swim at the front.
Yep.
Because the biking quite often comes down to a procession. The courses don't allow the strongest cyclists to actually gain anything, and then if you do attack, because the speeds are so high on some of these courses, you're going to kill yourself to get 20 seconds, and then as soon as you come into transition, you're going to be like, have worked so hard that you're going to probably have got caught in the first 2K of the run anyway. So it comes down to nothing. And then because of the way I guess these federations work, they're obsessed with chasing points. So athletes are too scared to then attack, because if they have a bad run, you know, they're almost like they're happy to race for 10th or 12th, because they're worried that they're going to get dropped by their federation and not get funding, and then they won't get any money because half of them haven't got very good sponsorships, you know, and
Well, it's
stuff like
impossible.
that.
It's just so difficult.
Yeah, so like the whole current format just makes for just really depressing, boring racing. And when you talk to a lot of the short course athletes, it seems like they want better courses, but I don't know, the people that just in charge of like designing these courses do it bad. I mean, that's why I like watching Super League. Like, I think, to be honest, if you're going to watch short distance racing, you need to watch Super League, because it's like, you can't have a weakness, can you, in it? It's literally all out, you know?
It's funny on the Super League thing, because I was in London. You were there last year, so I know you've seen it.
Yeah, I loved it. Like,
I hadn't. I'd obviously watched the London race a couple of years, but I walked the course on Sunday, and they're proper cobbles, mate. Like, they're not like little show. It's a rough, technical, hideous course.
yeah. And it's just a shame. Yeah, I remember watching the short distance race when they did the Kitzbühel race, and they raced up the mountain.
Unbelievable.
And everyone says
Rio
that was
Olympics.
an incredible one, and yet they still haven't gone back to doing courses like that. I don't understand it. Like,
Well, everything's getting shorter again, right? Like, there's barely any Olympic distance races this year. They're all sprint, super sprint, eliminator.
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, and like on pretty bad courses. Like, I just think the ITU ruins it, to be honest. Like, and with their decision to work with the PTO, who knows how that will work in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't go down the same avenue.
100% will, though, won't it? Because the federations want the money. And once they get their clause in and they think, actually, how come PTO's making a lot of money? We're not getting anything from this, and they're using our name. Of course, they're going to want something. They're going to want to have some control of what athletes can get into the races, or some kind of payback or something. I mean, it won't affect the PTO, because the PTO will just put the races on, and they don't really care, I guess, who's in the race, as long as there's some decent people. Whereas some athletes will get screwed because of political decisions. You see it all the time.
I do have to admit, when the announcement came, I was surprised. I didn't, of everything that I could have seen happening in the sport, I didn't see PTO partnering with World
You don't
Triathlon.
need to work with the ITU to call it an official world champs. If you call it a world champs and you have $2 million of prize money in there, I'm going to guarantee you all the top athletes are going to turn up. You know, it doesn't matter whether or not you call it an official, because we already have a technical official ITU world long distance champs.
Yeah,
but the money's
fucked it this year, mate.
Yeah, I did. But the thing is, that doesn't get as good a field as like what Kona would.
Well, I mean, putting it the day after the PTO event was probably a weird decision.
But even if they didn't, like in the past, it's never had a stronger field as Kona or the Ironman World Champs, is it? Because the money's not as good.
Yeah.
The money's not there. That's the thing. If you have really good money in a race, people will turn up.
Well, then why didn't we see better fields in Singapore?
Because the bonuses for a 70.3 world champs
I know,
are still really good. And some people have the prestige at the moment of saying, I'm an Ironman world champion, because Ironman has that prestige, doesn't it, about it at the moment? The PTO doesn't necessarily at the moment. But then what would you say was the strongest? I would say that Singapore was arguably at least or a stronger, at least as strong as 70.3 world, certainly no weaker. When you look at the athletes, I mean, that turned up and they brought their they were all going there in full fitness, weren't they? I mean, like, some of them didn't. The same athletes went to 70.3 worlds, but they were already nailed from the water in Singapore and the flight back and the jet lag and everything. But like, the Singapore field it wouldn't have been any easier to win Singapore than World 70.3 champs. I think it would have been harder. So like, when you say that, like, already the PTO is like getting the same athletes as that, and next year it could be even better, and it could be like everyone turns up to all the PTO races. And then what do you do with 7.3 worlds? I mean, it's going to get like, basically some people just try and squeeze it in, and other people trying to cherry pick it to say that they're a world 7.3 champion, but the prestige is going to be with the PTO races over that distance.
Hypothetically, let's say that next year, or let's say this year, Nice is a week and a half away, but let's say tomorrow the PTO decide, guys, we've actually got something we've been keeping up our sleeves. The same day as the Nice World Championships, we're going to offer a PTO 200-kilometer race. It is going to be somewhere, and the prize purse is 5 times that of Nice. Do you pack up and head off?
Oh yeah, I'd pack up and head off.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it.
I'd pack up and head off. Like, I've got no alliance. I like to a brand. I would just want to make the most money you can. I mean, you've only got a certain amount of years there, that you can do it for, haven't you? And
I saw it's funny. I've seen a lot of people being quite critical of Christian for doing all the racing and saying, oh, he's just motivated by money. And I'm like, of course he's.
What's the problem with that? Like,
it's his job.
Yeah, if you've got a business and you set up a business, you're not doing it to make nothing, are you? You're doing it to make money. That's why you've set the business up, because you think you can do it. If you're a triathlete, you're a self-employed person. I mean, like, no one's gonna, when you retire, no one's gonna come out and give you a handout, are they? You know, you are at your
Ironman
business.
don't have a pension.
Yeah, like, there's no pension plan from IronMan, I can tell you. Trust me. Like, like, so, like, of course you would want to make the money. Like, that's the whole point, isn't it? Who would set up a business to, like, be skint? Like, if you're normally, they say, if you're working for someone else and you think you could do something better, you'd set your own business up and you try and make money from it. You know, I think fair play to the people. If you can, people like Christian, if you can go around and make as much money as possible and you enjoy doing it and you're getting the results, well done, you know, go for it.
I do find it bizarre that it's always treated like a bad thing. And the other thing as well, like, you know, we've been speaking with some pros. We've had some pros with us the last few weeks. And
just Tim on that, I'd say the reason is because, don't you think a lot of people in triathlon are like hobby pros?
Yeah.
They do it because they like triathlon. It's a hobby, but they've always got some kind of backup plan that they fall back to. You know, they might have had a decent degree and they were working a good job beforehand. And they're like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at triathlon, so I'll make the most of it while I can. But my career is going to be this when I finish.
Yeah.
But like, for other people, you know, for like me, I haven't got a backup plan. Like, you know, I'm just all in on triathlon, and then afterwards, who knows? You know, I could be doing the garbage collecting that I did before. You know,
did you really?
I did for a day.
Oh, a day.
I could.
I mean,
it was horrendous, mate. Like that.
We
It was a lot easier being a triathlete.
You've got a future as a delivery, an Uber Eats
I
driver.
could be an Uber Eats driver. You know, I've
Cycles.
got the world's my oyster. Apparently, from what Matt Hansen was saying, a UPS driver in America seems like it's a
Yeah,
good
we were
wage.
talking about that, weren't we? The UPS guys do pretty well. You could be one of those posties on a bike.
There could be a poster, yeah. So
Fastest cyclist postie going around.
yeah, I'll do couriers for people. You know, get their parcel to them quick.
On the Super League thing, obviously your team is there. Byron Victorious had the team in the Super League. Didn't go so well for them. They did it. It sounds like all their big hitters were missing. Do you think they're going to be able to bring it back in round 2 this weekend?
Oh God, I don't know.
Payton's there. Cassandra's there. Leonie Perrio's back. So they should have some other.
Well,
big
yeah,
hitters.
probably if all those guys come back, especially Hayden. I mean, you'd put him up there with being first or second with Yi, wouldn't you? Or like around that kind of like.
Christian should be there as well, right?
God, Christian.
I wonder if he's going to be
there. How he does all them racing, I don't know. Like,
I'm actually of everything, it is. I will be very curious to see. I mean, I'm not. It's Christian, right? He's not going to not show up. But
you can't write him off
ever. The guy is like just an absolute beast. And again, we know Christian. He froths for it. Like, he's a true just.
Would you say he's a true frother?
Frother. He's 100% a frother, mate. I've actually been shocked about how much, like, spending the last couple of days. You are a frother. Like, you're on the iPad watching triathlon stuff constantly. Yeah. Christian's the same. I know. Like, you guys are like true triathlon frothers. You make me. I thought I was bad. I feel quite normal compared to you guys. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this Toulouse race that's happening this weekend. I feel like the teams thing they've done this year seems a bit better. I don't know whether going the national, America versus UK versus whatever is something that I love. And I have been quite skeptical of the whole RTS Real Tri Squad being the American team. But did you see, I don't know if you saw this, but I feel like they are kind of moneyballing it, because they had a guy, I saw it happen. One of the athletes, couldn't name him, no idea who he is, but he came through transition before the lap line, and he almost pulled up like he was injured. He started sort of like really slowing down, really jogging, stretching out or whatever. I'm like, what the fuck's this guy doing? And he then fucking went for it to set the fastest lap, and set the fastest lap by like 7 kilometers. And I was like, shit, that's actually quite clever. They've got this guy in the race who's not going to win. He's not going to podium.
What? So he got the points for the run
fastest
run jersey.
Yeah, and I thought,
oh, I saw that, because when I looked at the results, because I saw it on Instagram, it said that like Alex, you were second. I'm thinking, well, who the hell's this other guy?
And he was 7 seconds faster because he literally just jogged the first lap as a warm up to keep inside the 90, and then almost walked through transition. Like, he was really, and then just absolutely went for.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah. And I thought, again, it takes an American team to actually start thinking outside the box a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, well done. Like, it makes sense when you've got. I actually think MG from the Bahrain team was probably like kicking himself because he had some people he wasn't super happy.
Yeah.
And about who, or not even that he wasn't happy, just that he wasn't really that across. Yeah, that would have probably been a better way of trying to use them. So.
Yeah, that would be.
But yeah, we got Toulouse this weekend. We're doing pretty well for time, mate. People, if they want to check you out, I know you've got your Triathlon Mockery podcast. Where can they go to if they want to follow you? We're trying to get you up to 100,000 Instagram followers. What's the handle, Joe?
Not another average Joe.
Another average
I
Joe.
think so. Like, I don't know if there's numbers at the end or not now. You put me on the spot. But
What is it? Not another average Joe. Is there numbers? No.
I don't know if there's 88 at the end or
80,
what.
maybe. Maybe there is. Just search Joe Skipper
Just
on
put
Instagram.
Joe Skipper on there.
You've got your YouTube channel. You've obviously got Triathlon Mockery. I really enjoyed being present for the recording this week because as you're recording a giant rat, actually it wasn't Joe, it was a tiny little baby rat.
Mate, that thing, I was just totally not expecting a rat to come down. But also about our strength and conditioning app as well. Like if people want to get on some strength and conditioning for the off season or even towards the racing, like I've just set one up with Kate Baldwin, PhD in strength training for triathletes, and it coaches you this app. So like
we'll get a link. Maybe there's a code or something. We'll share something in the show notes this week, guys.
Code can be Big Dog, and it gets you like an extra 2 weeks for free. So you can try it for a month for free. If you don't like it, then you won't get charged anything. And it actually coaches you, and you can slide the fatigue for how fatigued you are, so it will change your sessions and everything. But it's only $5.99 a month anyway in pounds. I think 10 Aussie dollars. It's all based off the Australian things. So it's nice and simple for you, Tim. Like 10 Aussie dollars.
Yeah, not the. What about, mate? Is there like a clothing line or something? People, if they really want to support you, can they go and buy your clothing line or something? Or...
Unfortunately not, but they can just track. But I can give you my PayPal if you really want to support me.
Joe, thank you so much for coming on this week. Again, it's always nice to be able to have somebody that we can literally just talk shit about triathlon. That's kind of the whole point of the podcast. We will get you on for a proper state of the sport discussion in probably a few weeks, few months, whatever. But guys, if you enjoy this, you can follow us on Twitter at Talk Triathlon, Instagram Talking Triathlon. I'm at Tford14 on Instagram. James is at bale.james85, patreon.com/Talking Triathlon. All that good stuff. Give us a review. Let us know in the comments what you think. If you think Joe's talking shit, if you think I'm talking shit, if you think we're completely wrong, let us know. A pleasure as always, Joe Skipper. Good luck next weekend.
Cheers.
Podium, Joe.